I think the way you have to look at it is the same way you look at regulation. Which companies can navigate regulatory changes. And in this case, the regulatory changes are coming from Apple, where they have to operate in a new world with the rules that Apple set. So the biggest companies that have the resource to do that will be able to prosper in the end. And that includes Amazon, Google, as well as Facebook. But the niche companies have a much, much harder hill to climb. And when you look at Snapchat last night, I mean, that was a classic example of monster expectations with a monster multiple. And so it shouldn't be a surprise to see what happened there. I think the issue is, we don't know exactly where the bottom is for these niche players like the Snapchats of the world. And in terms of how much impact iOS changes can have. And I think neither does Snapchat.
So then how do then those companies, James, how do those types of companies, the niche ones or the ones that don't have a broader range platform, how exactly then do they navigate those waters? What do they have to do to then get their ad revenues back and then growing at some kind of a decent clip again?
Well, first they have to change their mindset because the advertising and the targeting has been predominantly delivered based off of the data that they can collect, across the web through tracking and whatnot. But they have to increase their capabilities on the first party side. And I think conceivably they have to think about more statistically, more traditional statistically driven advertising metrics that perhaps not are strictly ROI based in terms of ad spend, like the Facebooks of the world. So I think it's a very difficult battle for them. What you're seeing right now, Snapchat, for example, had to deal with issues where Facebook copied them. But this is the first time these companies, these newer niche companies, are facing a huge secular change, akin to the one that Facebook had to face when the world was moving from desktop to mobile. So all these bigger companies have been tested in that regard. And I think that's where the bias needs to be in terms of positivity.
Is there a view on your end? You're an investor in these types of companies. Is there a view on your end as to which companies are better positioned to outperform given the visibility on this kind of, I guess, regulatory, so to speak, effort that's being made by Apple and maybe others down the line?
Sure. I think Amazon and Google easily in the forefront, given the preponderance of their first-party data and the robustness of the data that they're able to collect in terms of gathering characterizations and interest profile around users. Facebook would be one step down from that, given the fact that they did have to rely on third-party in terms of driving app install ads, predominantly in gaming. And then it's everybody else.
Okay, and then who would you stay away from in that kind of environment the most? Which one has perhaps the most unclear outlook given what we've seen?
I think it's that everybody else bucket. That includes the Twitters, the Pinterest, the Snapchats of the world. Anybody else. I mean, if you're not big with billions of users and being a strict destination every single day for people, I think it's going to be tough out there, especially with the valuations that we're seeing.